Let's talk Tanya for the 24th of Av. In the Tanya of the last few days, we've explained that the light that enters this world from God is divided into 613 different types of light, represented by the 613 mitzvahs. And every time we do a mitzvah, we're bringing down one of these strands of light and elevating one of the 613 parts of our being. That is why every single one of us needs to do all 613 mitzvahs. The Arizal explains, in fact, that if a person fails to do all 613 mitzvahs, then the neshama, the soul, has to come down again and be reincarnated, because we need to elevate every single one of the parts of our being through the 613 mitzvahs. But there's another idea over here. And to understand this other idea, we need to first preface and bring in an interesting passage in the Talmud, where the Talmud tells us that there were some of the Talmudic sages, and they were talking about, one of them said, I get credit because I daven. Another one says, I get credit because every Shabbos I eat 3 meals. Another one says, I get credit because I've always been honest. Another one says, I get credit because I put on tefillin, which is obviously strange. Every single Jewish person has to be honest, has to eat 3 meals on Shabbos, has to wear tefillin, has to daven. What does this mean? But at the very end of this piece of the Talmud, we have something which sheds light on this. There was one sage of the Talmud turns to another and says, Avuch b'may havi zohir tvei, which means, tell me, your father, what was he most particularly meticulous? Which mitzvah was he most careful about? And Dr. Rebbe says, this really explains everything that's going on over here. Of course, everyone has to do every single mitzvah, because we have 613 parts, as we explained, and we need to do all 613 mitzvahs. But at the same time, every single Jewish soul has one specific mitzvah, which is uniquely theirs, which they have to focus on more and do with a greater passion, a greater intensity, and more meticulousness. And this is true individually for every single one of us. It's also true generationally. It's not as if every single generation just does all the mitzvahs. Every single generation has one mitzvah, which is their unique calling and which they have to place on more emphasis more than any other mitzvah. Which is why it's so important to have a Rebbe. Why do we have to have a Rebbe in every single generation? We have Moshe Rabbeinu. And just listen to what he says. The answer is because every single generation is different. There's a specific emphasis in every single generation. And by being connected and listening to a Rebbe, we know what is our specific mission and job in today's day and age. But also individually, every single one of us, we're not just paper cuts, where every single one of us is just a carbon copy of the other. Every one of us has come down into the world to fulfill a specific mitzvah with meticulousness. And how do we know which mitzvah that is? So the Rebbe explained on several occasions there are really 2 indicators. One is, if you have a certain mitzvah which you find particular difficulty doing, that's the mitzvah which your Yetzer Hara is very focused on stopping you from doing, because it knows that's your specific mission in this world. That's one way of knowing. And another way of knowing is by looking at yourself, your talents, your strengths, and understanding that God certainly gave you the talents and strengths you need specifically to fulfill your unique mission over here in this world. And sometimes, or a lot of times, it's both. The areas in which we're most talented are the areas in which the Yetzer Hara puts on the biggest fight. And with this we understand that which we started at the beginning of the chapter. We said, Ashreinu, how fortunate we are, Matoiv Chalkeinu, that how beautiful is our portion. What is our portion? My unique portion as an individual. I'm so happy that I have my specialty, my mitzvah. Umanoim gerolenu, how sweet is our lot. Our lot is like a lottery. Just like the one who wins a lottery, there is no logic behind why person A wins the lottery as opposed to person B. Why is it that I have this mitzvah and you have another mitzvah? That's a lottery. But we're so thankful to Hashem for that portion that we have, which is like a lottery that we won. And when we're saying this in the morning, we're obviously committing and focusing on finding that mission, finding that unique mitzvah, and making sure that we put the proper emphasis on that. With this, we have finished this letter. Tomorrow, we start another letter, and the topic is, you might have guessed, is tzedakah.